So hello aspirants, welcome to another session of Indian Forestry. Today we will be seeing forest ecology. It is included in your paper 2 section B. So let's start. See, the first topic is your plant succession. We have already studied about plant succession in our environment and ecology syllabus of civil services examination. So the similar concept is over here also. The plant succession is the gradual replacement of your one plant community by other. The first stage in the plant succession is the pioneer stage. Then comes the intermediate stages called as sere, and then at the end, the stage is called as a climax community. Now, there are various theories of plant succession that has been given. We will go through them one by one. The first one is your Clement's theory. So, according to this theory, only one climax community is going to be there at the end. So, that's why this theory is also called as the monoclimax theory. The second one is your polyclimax theory. So according to your polyclimax theory, more than one climax community is going to be there at the end. Then the third one is your mosaic theory. According to the mosaic theory, composition and the characteristics of your climax community is going to be static. It is not going to be variable. So who has developed it? Oberwelle has developed this particular theory, and the example is your tropical mixed deciduous forest. The last theory is your Whitaker theory, and according to this theory, there is no absolute climatic climax for any area. So this theory suggests that climatic climax is a myth. It is not happening in any region or in any area. So this is what Whitaker has suggested. The next is your classification of succession. So there are two different types. The first one is based on the moisture condition. Subtypes are Zera arc succession and the Hydra arc succession. So Zera arc succession, we already knew from the environment and ecology concept that it is succession in the desert areas, and Hydra arc succession is the succession in your water rich regions. Whereas in the case of the other type, that is based on the presence or absence of vegetation, two different subtypes has been classified. The first one is a primary succession and the second one is your secondary succession. Primary and secondary we already have studied in our environment and ecology part. The same concept is over here also. So the next is your causes of succession. There are initial causes like erosion, physiognomy, elevation, subsidence, which does play an important role during your primary succession, and then climate, physiography and biotic, which plays an important role in secondary succession. Then continuing causes like migration is their establishment, aggregation, competition and reaction, which does play a part in your succession. Now let's go to another topic, that is your examples of primary succession. So the first example that we are going to study is your coniferous succession. How does succession happens in the coniferous species? So the first or the pioneer species is your shrub, then the sere species is your Pinus valiciana, and finally the climax community is your mixed forest of deodar and blue pine. Now coming to your xerophytic succession. So in that particular thing, what happens is the initial stage is your lichen. Then after that, moss stage comes, then shrub stage. So this moss stage and shrub stage becomes your sere, and then the climatic forest comes into picture. This climatic forest is your climatic community. So this is the example of your primary succession. We have saw the first one as your coniferous, and right now we have saw the xerophytic succession. So the next one is your classification of climax vegetation. See, the first one is your climatic climax. As the name suggests, here the climate is going to play an important role in determining which species of the tree is going to become the climax community. So example over here is sal forest, especially in your Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. The next one is your edaphic climax. Over here, the edaphic part or the soil aspect will determine which plant species will become the climax community. For example, the wet bamboo breaks that happen in the southern tropical evergreen forest. So this is the example. Now the next one is the pre-climax. So pre-climax means the species that comes just before your climax community. So this is the pre-climax concept. Next one is a post-climax. So the tree species that are going to come after your climax community. So the example over here is the evergreen or the semi-evergreen forest that are present in the Sal region or in the Shorea robusta region. So this is your post-climax. Then the next concept is your biotic climax. So over here, To determine which community is going to become the climax community, biotic factors will play an important part or an important role. For example, the cheer pine forest in the hill regions where Quercus incana is the climatic climax. So Quercus incana is the climatic climax, but still we are going to find cheer pine forest. This happens because of the biotic climax. Now the next concept over here is the plant adaptations. How the plants get adapted to different sort of climate conditions that we wanted to study. And this is very much important because it was even asked in the previous forestry papers. The first one is the adaptation for the drought conditions. So what sort of new things generally plant adapts when they face the drought conditions? The first one is here that the stomata gets open in the night. In the daytime, the stomata is generally closed and it opens in the night only. Then increased photosynthetic efficiency. The lipid deposition happens on the leaves so as to reduce the evaporation. Then the reduction in the leaf area happens again to reduce the evaporation of the water. Leaf surface have thick cuticles and the water storage happens in the plants and not in the roots. So this is your adaptation of the plants during your drought conditions. Then adaptation for plants when aquatic conditions is going to be there, or aquatic condition is the dominant factor, then how the plants are adapted. Such plants are called as your hydrophytes. So the stomata is open for most of the time. Flat leaves are going to be there. Poorly developed root system. Leaves has thin cuticle. Then less rigid structure of the cell. Plant cells have air sacs and reduction in the vascular and mechanical tissue. So this happens especially in the mangroves condition also. So mangroves we have already studied. So in the mangrove plantation, such kind of adaptive conditions you can see. Then the next is your phtaphites. What are phtaphites? So these are the deep-rooted plants that gets their water from the phthatic zone. That is the zone of saturation. So example is the poplar, alder and willow. Remember these names as well as the definition of phtaphites because in the past forestry paper, UPSC has asked about the phtaphites and hydrophytes also. The next concept is your herbarium. So what is an herbarium? It is the storehouse of plant specimen. Okay, so over here what used to be done, plant specimen is generally collected and then they are separated. For example, like leaves are separated, stems are separated, roots are separated and the fruits are separated, and then they are stored in a given storehouse. So that is your herbarium. So plant samples are collected, the records are properly maintained and then stored in your herbarium. So this is a kind of a storehouse. So what is the function or the main functions of herbarium? It acts as the conservatory of your plant species, then provides basic information of plants. Similarly, it acts as the permanent record of your flora of a given region. Similarly, it helps in your research and development and acts as your teaching aid. Even more functions are given in your book. If you want to read about it, you can refer to the book. Otherwise, 4 to 5 functions are more than sufficient. So next is your herbaria establishment. See, there are different steps in how this herbaria is getting established or how we can establish an herbaria in a given region. The first one is that you should collect a plant, then poisoning of the plant specimen so that the plant should die, and then we can separate the roots as well as leaves, fruits and different parts of the plant. Then the size and the number of specimen. So around 6 to 7 numbers of specimen is generally collected so that the entire information about the given plant can be stored. Then pressing of the plant specimen. So there is going to be a sheet and on that sheet you will mount your plant after poisoning. So that is your pressing of the plant specimen and mounting, and then storage of the plant. So once you have made the specimen, then you'll store your particular specimen in the herbarium. So this is how the herbaria is established in a given region. So the next concept is a botanical garden. So what is a botanical garden? It is a scientifically planned collection of your living trees, shrubs, herbs from across the part of the world. So in the case of botanical garden, what happens is different sort of plant specimens are brought and are planted in that region, and thus enhances the biodiversity. So this is the main concept behind your botanical garden. One famous botanical garden is in Mysore. Even in Mumbai also there is this Jijabai Udyan, which is again a botanical garden. So different botanical gardens has been established in metropolitan cities as well as in different regions across the India. So what are the different types of botanical garden? The first one is an arboreta. It means that collection of woody species. Then the next one is an orchidaria. That means the living collection of your orchids. Then pineta. It means the collection of pines is there. And then bambusita. It means the collection of bamboos. So these are the different types of your botanical garden. UPSC has asked about botanical garden and its types in one of the previous forestry paper. So that's why it becomes very much important for us. The next one is ethnobotany. In 2022 forestry paper, UPSC has asked about ethnobotany. So what is ethnobotany? It is the study of your plants and how these plants are connected with your men. So human and plants interrelationship is generally studied in the ethnobotany. So study of useful plants prior to the commercial exploitation and eventual domestication. So once you have studied properly about the plant, its history and how there is a relationship between the humans and the plants, then it becomes much more easier and much more useful to domesticate the plant. So what are the importance of ethnobotany? There are various importance of this particular concept. The first one is that it provides the technical use of plant wealth. Then data can be useful for the tribal development. Similarly, it gives information about some unknown plant. Then it helps in the biodiversity enrichment, and then it also provides livelihood to the tribal people. So these are the various usefulness of your ethnobotany. Let's see certain previous year questions. Discuss in detail the protective role of natural forest in India. It is a very easy question and just a descriptive question that you have to write. Then discuss in the detail the concept of plant succession. We just right now saw about it, and discuss the concept of ethnobotany that was asked in your 2022, the recent forestry paper. So that's all for this lecture of forestry. In the next session, we will see some other topic of your Indian forestry. Till then, thank you.